And so my car starts yelling at me in Japanese. Like, I didn't know what the fuck it was saying at the time because I'm like, wait, is this the right road? Is this the right highway? And then my car starts going beeper, beep, not beeper, beeper, but like, you know, he car, am I saying? Like, you know, I'm just like, shit, what the fuck? I thought, yo, everyone, what's going on? Welcome to episode 142 of the Japan According to Akil podcast. Pretty chill episode. We talked about, you know, some good stuff, some bad stuff, some inaccurate stuff, some weird stuff. Some links to some different mini docs that you can check out. Some COVID related, some Japanese society related, some just completely blatantly wrong shit as well. Some things you might like, might dislike about Japan. I give a couple of stories as well. Turns out to be a pretty good podcast. Again, please remember, thank you guys for liking. You guys who are watching, I'm seeing the likes. I'm seeing them go shoot up. The comments shoot up. Subscribe to, please do that as well. That might help as well. The subscriber numbers going up might help too. Questionsforakil@gmail.com if you have anything you want me to talk about, address, or leave a comment in YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. But, you know, I think this pretty much speaks for itself. So go ahead and enjoy. Hey now. Woohoo. What's up, y'all? It's episode 142 of the podcast. I told y'all last time I got another cognac episode. I'm drinking some Camus Exo Superior this time. I got, you know, again, one of my hobbies, which is kind of, let me not drop that, which is, ordering things online, things like that. So Yahoo Auction hooked me up again, but I think I'm pretty much done with the cognac online auction life for a little while. You know, I kind of got my fix. So when I'm done with this, I'm probably going to chill on it for a little bit. Pretty smooth episode we got for you. By the way, people on YouTube, a couple of things. First off, I'm going to stop checking the video. I got a comment from someone from a few episodes back that told me it kind of messed with the audio levels. So I'm going to just try and, you know, keep it as it is. Keep the faith that it's going to record this whole goddamn thing. And hopefully, you know, that works out. Also, my face is kind of oily, shiny. I jumped out the shower. So people on YouTube, if you can see my face, that's why. Okay. What else is going on with me? Yeah, that's pretty much it to start everything off that I think of. If anything else comes up, kind of hot, kind of warm in here. So, you know, if you see me squirming around, I'm trying to, you know, keep everything stationary as much as possible. I got a carpet laid down, a heated carpet laid down, which of course you can't see, but so my feet are all toasty. You know, before when I shuffled my feet, when I listened back on the audio, to the video, when I watched the video, I could hear, you know, I can hear all the noise that gets picked up. Audio people, you don't really hear that. So if you're watching on YouTube, one of the comments I got was about, you know, the microphone not helping. So people on YouTube, the microphone is only for the audio. The audio, I can adjust the sound quality. You know, I edit it. I do some semi-professional shit to that. The video that you see on YouTube is completely raw. You know, it's through, I'm just recording it on my iPhone. I got like, you know, 30 y'all on YouTube. So it's not, you know, I'm not like gonna go out and buy like a super professional camera or anything like that. Now at this moment in time, you know, if I get, I don't know, whatever number, you know, whatever, we'll see in the future if it gets there. People, you know, longtime listeners on the audio, the podcast, you know, same thing. My phone used to be my microphone. So, you know, I kind of stepped up with the equipment over time as it was warranted. So, you know, if you hear background noise, you know, you hear shit, whatever the fuck you hear, you know, on YouTube, sorry about that. It's just my iPhone. But, you know, if it really bothers you, just click in the description, listen to the podcast, and your listening experience will be a hell of a lot better. Most of the time I listen to the podcast on my way to work, just to review, play it back again for my own entertainment too. I like listening to the podcast too, to be honest with you. Not like, and I said before, not like an egotistical kind of thing. When I started doing it at first, it was kind of weird. It felt kind of weird listening to myself, but I feel like it's a good episode if I know what I said and I can listen to it and still be entertained on it. I feel like I'm entertained by it. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. So, that's my gauge. That's my litmus test, to see how well, of course, all of your comments and things like that. Rod, really thank you for the email message you sent me a little while ago. I read it. Really helpful, really inspirational. Just telling me keep going, keep these dreams alive. But no, I mean I'm not like worn down or anything. I'm really loving what I do. I'm looking forward to the future where I can do this with the majority of my day. If I can get to the point where I'm like, not only for this podcast, but with my business and everything like that, where I can get to the point where I can do some live streaming and I can do a lot of shorts and do some animated stuff and just really kind of get a variety of content out there that I would like to, related to Japan. So we're getting there. It's a process, but we're getting there. So I ain't going nowhere. where am I gonna go? This is my life. Like, this is literally my life. I'm not going anywhere. So don't worry. You guys are stuck with me. That's about it. Yeah, it's pretty late tonight. I got the day off tomorrow, so I don't think it's gonna be a super long episode because I'm getting started a little bit later, and even, I'm not gonna lie, me starting once I hit record, I'm just like, I'm really not feeling like the juices, flowing out. I spent like 40 minutes trying to figure out what the fuck I was gonna talk about today. I just searched around on YouTube, found some shit, There's always something related to Japan, some good, some not so good. So that's kind of what we're gonna talk about. One more thing, I just remembered that I wanted to mention, speaking of me listening to the episode, finally I've started uploading timestamps onto the episode. I just realized, as I listen, and now that you can see, I'm trying to like organize the episode a bit better. Instead of just like randomly talking crazy shit the whole fucking time. I'm kind of can just like separate it up, and then like after I listen to it, I just go, on my phone and app, I could just put in the timestamp. So I think that, will be helpful, a lot helpful. And then, also it'll help in the future when for me to go back and actually take out clips, which I want to try to do tomorrow. I haven't, like the past couple of episodes, there have been a few clips I wanted to get to, which I'm going to try and get to. I know, Rod, I'm not doing too much, but those kind of clips, I think they are important, especially for just raising awareness of the podcast, and it's just some interesting shit for people to know. They don't really have to sort through the full episode. I kind of, at first I was kind of like, fuck that shit, I'm not putting timestamps in my shit, but I had to think and look at some of the podcasts and longer videos I watch and I listen to when I have time, and they do it, so if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me, and I appreciate it. So hopefully you guys, if you're a new listener on YouTube especially, hopefully you appreciate it, because I'm taking the time out for you guys. But that's about it. So all right, let's get into it. Okay, what are we gonna talk about? We got some good stuff, we got some bad stuff this episode. I'm not gonna dwell too much on the bad. Fuck it, let's start with something. Okay, I found this interesting short documentary from Vice Japan. It's in the comment about what's going on with Tokyo, especially nightlife district, and this is kind of relevant now, especially since the cold months are starting to kick in, and the virus is resurging. Especially, the big news, the hot topic in Tokyo is Hokkaido, and that they're kind of getting large amounts of cases, relatively large for Japan, relatively large amounts of cases there. which in my opinion is because of the Go To Travel campaign, that was done to help boost the travel tourist industry. Of course, in October, like, people are gonna go to the northern part of Japan. Like, the leaves were changing there. It's beautiful, it's cool. So everyone's gonna go up there, and the virus is gonna spread up there. Like, what do you expect to happen? And there's also a small nightlife district there. I'm sure it might be something related to that. So, yeah. So this, I just finished watching it just before I started recording, and it's just to give you some insight. So it's kind of funny to me because, like, how to explain this? The people in the area that they talked about, I go to that area quite a bit. Like, actually, it's one of my transfer stops, like, to get where I'm going on my daily commute. It's Jiyugaoka. I change trains in Jiyugaoka a lot. Like, if you come to Tokyo, you might see me walking around, listening to some music, listening to a podcast, whatever. And yeah, like, the main lady that they were interviewing, she's a hostess in Jiyugaoka, but Jiyugaoka is not like a nightlife area at all. It's, I heard someone really, really describe it well, as Jiyugaoka feels like it's Sunday afternoon every day. Like, and that's honestly, it summarizes what it's like. A different area, again, an area in Tokyo. Really chill, families and shit like that. But at night, I can't even imagine what it's like at nighttime. It's, really quiet. Everything's probably closed and shit. But I guess there's like a few, it's kind of a residential area right next to a really well-to-do area. Not rich, but well-to-do area right next to that. So I'm guessing, like, some of the people, from those areas, on their way home, don't want to go home to their wives, or if they're single, kind of slide through to some hostess bars. But the hostess bars didn't really look that top flight. Like, to be honest with you, like, I was looking at them like, I don't know about that. But the video gives some information about kind of how the struggles of nightlife industries, nightlife industries. Adult entertainment sounds like porn, but entertainment industries or entertainment businesses like hostesses, which we've talked about here before. They dabble a little bit into fuzoku, which is also thrown into there as well. Fuzoku is, I think I've talked about before, kind of legal prostitution, basically, massage parlors, stuff like that. And that you can kind of lump the corona related issues of those two industries into the same bucket, pretty much. So they're kind of freaking out right now, and it gives some insight into the mentality of people who work in those industries, and the fact that they're pretty much ignored by government, and they're kind of on the verge of getting a knockout blow a lot of these different places. A similar thing can be said for, unfortunately, the restaurant industry. As I know some people. Is this recording? Okay. I was sorry. I'm gonna just test my mic 1 second. Okay, my mic's going. I hope my mic's going, because it's looking kind of weird. Sorry about that. Okay, there it is. My little feedback thing was looking kind of weird, but yeah. So anyway, just like I've talked about before, I know some people in the restaurant industry. I'm really rooting for them to pull through this situation, but a lot of the issues that are the hostess industry face, also restaurants face, just dealing with nightlife, people drinking, things like that. And the government's really like zeroing in on those industries. I've kind of talked about it before. I think it's a bit of kill two birds with one stone, possibly. I don't really know, for some specific areas, or just for those industries. Excuse me. I'm guessing the government just doesn't have any love for them. It's just like, fuck them, So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But really watching that documentary, it gives you kind of a peep into you know, how they're coping with this situation and what some of the struggles are really going on for those industries. I'm gonna try and do a one-handed pour. I forgot to give myself a okay. I did that relatively smoothly. Relatively, as you can hear or see. but yeah. So just give that one a watch. Give that one, you know, it's pretty interesting. It's funny. I was kind of predicting some of the conversations in that one because one of the girls, the younger one, you'll know who she is, was kind of talking about later on. She's like, I'll do whatever it takes to survive. And I was in my mind, I'm like, you gonna start hoeing. I hate to say it, but like you about to get, you know, you're willing to become a sex worker, and then in a few minutes they kind of danced around it. They didn't say it exactly, but they kind of danced around it. But like, yeah, we might have to go down that road. So hope it doesn't come to that for them or a lot of people, but it kind of looks like it might have to. I'm not, you know, hey, I'm just don't hate the messenger. You know, I'm just saying. Okay. Another thing, I really should have adjusted the order of this, but a few other things I have for you, like I watched some shit that kind of pissed me off a little bit. 2 videos I got, like they didn't, the first one pissed me off, like, because it's just misleading information about, you know, Tokyo and about Japan. The first one is just blatantly wrong. Like taco, it's whatever the fuck. It's like a gossipy kind of YouTube channel, but it seems like I know exactly what they did just by watching it. It seems they did a series about rich kids in different countries, quote unquote, and watching the one about Japan is just like, just read, if you just click, you don't even have to watch the video, just read the comments and you'll know. Like I even saw like a major YouTuber actually was kind of chimed in and was just like, yo, this is just uncomfortable and really wrong, like, you know, misleading, and you know what I know I can 100% sure happened, that that YouTube channel, whoever runs it, had like a checklist or a template of, you know, events, actions, whatever that they wanted to hit. Places, for example, hotels, restaurants, food, rich, you know, I'm sure they just did a Google search. Japan, rich restaurant. Japan, expensive hobby. Japan, expensive area. And they just found a checklist of those places and they just combined them into this mismatch of information, you know, disinformation that is just completely like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, I had to do a couple of Googles, like, is this some shit I don't know about? Like, what, you know? But yeah, it's like 90% of what I saw in that video is incorrect, like, and quite misleading about people with money in Japan. So yeah, I mean, you watch it, but just be aware that, like, you know, all these motherfuckers who say they know about Japan, you know, or all this information that knows, you know, giving you the lowdown of what's going on in Japan. I'm not calling anyone specifically out. There's a lot of good information out there, but you really have to, especially nowadays, look at some information with a skeptical eye, because you know, a lot of times it is just to get views. It is just to pump out content, and they're like, hey, you know, whatever. People in that video probably never even came to Japan, and that channel never even came to Japan, and you know, but from a Google search, like talking about, like, you know, fucking wine onsen and or the wine hot spring, like, you know, and it's like just a sexy clip, you know, that people think, wow, Japanese people are crazy. They take baths in wine. And like, that's just so stupid, because that's like a themed public bath, you know. If you ever see someone with like, oh, Japanese people take baths in ramen noodles and Japanese people take baths in wine, and look at that, Japanese people are taking baths in like soup or like beer or whatever the fuck. It's just a public bath That's all it is. And it's just like a theme park. And, you know, they have different themes for different public baths. They throw in some colored water. They throw in some, maybe some aroma or something, crystals or whatever, aroma crystals, like Folgers, like, you know, whatever they put in there. And that's it. Like, you know, it's regular bath water. It's just themed. Like, I remember, I don't know if I told this. Yeah, okay, I'll tell. Story time. Sidebar, story time. I remember my first time going to a hot spring with kind of flavored, quote unquote flavored or theme colored water. Fucking amazing. Like I had just gotten my driver's license in Japan. I got my driver's license transferred over. Thank goodness I did that before my American driver's license expired. So now my American driver's license is expired. My Japanese driver's license is my only valid one. So you've probably heard me say this before. When I go back to America, I'm driving on my Japanese or an international driver's license because, you know, I just don't have it. My Washington D.C. one is like kaput. Anyway, so yeah, I had just gotten my driver's license in Japan. You know, I was super pumped. I had the day off on a weekday, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm going somewhere." You know, I was like, "I'm going somewhere. I gotta hit the highway." You know, and my wife had to work, so I was like, "I'm taking a solo trip." I just want, you know, at that time I had to work on the weekends, so I forgot what exactly what I was doing. Maybe I was freelancing at that time still. And so for some reason, I think it was like a Wednesday. And I think that's what it was. It was a Wednesday and my full-time job, I worked all day, was off maybe for summer vacation, if I remember correctly. And so I was like, fuck it, I haven't had a day off for a long time. I've been working, you know, if you're a long-time listener, you know I've been working my fingers to the bone. I was like, fuck it, I'm taking the day off, I'm going somewhere. So, you know, I got a license, I got some money. Fuck it, hit the road. I love hot springs, so I'm gonna go to a hot spring. So I think a student or someone told me about a hot spring town somewhere. I ain't know the fuck it was. I still had my flip phone. I didn't have an iPhone yet. So I still had my flip phone, searching on the internet and looking up directions on my Japanese flip phone, and rented a car. I think that was my first time renting a car, and luckily though, was that time? Luckily though, maybe I lived there. Yeah. Okay, I lived there. But there was a rental car. I remember where I lived, but there was a rental car place really fairly near to where I lived. So, so hopped in the rental car, hit the highway. Freaked me the fuck out. Like, oh my gosh, like it was, you know, thrilling. It was exciting. But it because like there's this thing called the ETC. I forgot what the ETC stands for, but just Google Japan ETC and you'll know. It's like like an Easy Pass in my area. Easy Pass, like, you know, a highway toll pass kind of thing. I know in America you have like a big fucking brick kind of thing, or you used to. I don't know what you have now, but like a big brick thing that you put in your car. But now in America, it's in Japan, it's like a little slot. You have a card, and it's a little slot that you with a IC chip that you put in the reader, and then that is connected to the car or whatever. But it's just a little. This is like a little key card, kind of like an ATM slot for your ETC card. And mine is connected to my credit card. So, you know, whenever if I need to hit the highway, I just put the card in the car reader, and then it charges my credit card, which I don't really do that much. So, but you know, it's just good to have in case you do need to hit the highway for something. So at that point, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going. So I went, but I didn't have an ETC right at that time, and so I remember getting, I don't know if I told you, but I was getting on the on ramp, and like they have these I don't know, towers or something that like the car I was in, because it was a rental car, it had an ETC reader in it, but it didn't have an ETC card. So like I was getting on the on-ramp for the first time. They have this little thing that, like, you know, detects whether you have an ETC or not. And so my car starts yelling at me in Japanese. Like, I didn't know what the fuck it was saying at the time, because I'm like, wait, is this the right road? Is this the right highway? And then my car starts going beeper, not beeper, but like, you know, me, ETC card, what am I saying? Like, you know, I'm just like, shit, what the fuck? I thought like I did something wrong, or like, I was gonna get pulled over by the police or something. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So, but it took me, but it scared the shit out of me, and I couldn't, I was on the on ramp, so I can't turn around. So I was just like, fuck. But then after a few minutes, like I just pulled into, there's always one lane where you can pay cash. So I pulled into that lane, and after I got on the highway, I was like, everything's okay. Okay, of course I'm sweating at this time, like, because I'm just freaking out. But then I realized, okay, everything's okay. And then, I'm trying to figure out my Japanese navigation system, and I'm just like on the highway for the first time in Tokyo, like the highway, like shit's real, But eventually I get to my destination, and it was not that good at all, actually. Now I think but no, actually on my way there it was cool, because I just did some solo trip shit. Like I stopped off at like a random hotel, had like a nice little lunch by myself. They had a go-kart track. I never went like the real go-karts. On my way to the hot spring, I passed a go-kart track. I was like, I've never really ridden like you gotta wear a helmet, you gotta have a driver's license type go-kart. And I was like, fuck, what was this? Sorry, a piece of lint. Yeah, so I was like, fuck it, let me ride a fucking go-kart. So I did that, and then got to the hot spring. I was kind of disappointed. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Now I understand it was like a lukewarm hot spring that they had, that was outside. So it wasn't like super, super hot outside, but it just wasn't so interesting. And so, maybe I did tell the story before, but fuck it, I'll tell it again. I was like, fuck. And then I remembered, I think I checked online, again, on my flip phone, and I found another hot spring, because I wasn't satisfied, So I found another hot spring town that was relatively nearby. Yeah, I did tell this story before, but whatever, I'll tell it again. So I drive there, of course, just by the power of my navigation system. And then it was some town, I forgot the name of it. I think it was Samizu. It's either Samizu or Shimizu. I always forget which one. But at the time, what I didn't know is that, like, if you say something onsen, you're talking about an onsen town, not just like one hot spring, not just one onsen, which I didn't know at the time. So like I get to the place, and I'm just like, so where's the hot spring? Where is it? And there's this old lady walking down the street, like, and so I stopped the car, and I'm like, in Japanese, I'm like, excuse me, do you know where da onsen is? And she was like, you're here. I was like, oh. I looked at it, I was like, okay, thank you. I looked at the map. Oh, it's the fucking town, right? So once I panned out and checked, like, there's just hot springs everywhere all over the town. I was like, okay. So I just picked a random place. I was like, yo, I need a fucking hot spring. Like, you just, again, that's what's great about Japan. You can just walk up into a place like, hey, I'm lost, I need this, help me. And then they'll be like, okay, like, and Japanese hospitality, whoosh, I talked about it previously in the previous episode, just kind of the switch hits. And of course, if you're respectful, speaking Japanese helps. And then the dude whipped out this map, and he was like, how you recommend you go here, you go here, you go here. And basically he was pointing me to all the cheap places, and now that I'm thinking about it, he was probably right, but I was like, fuck it. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it big. I'm going to the expensive one, because the map had like the cost of all the places. So I was like, yeah, man, fuck this shit. I'm going to go, I drove I driven like 2-3 hours maybe. I'm like, I'm going to go to the expensive one. Don't think expensive, like expensive. Like, he was telling me to go to hot springs that were like 500 yen. I went to one that was like, it was like $5. I went to one that was like, $12 basically, and in a hotel. And now that I think about it, probably I should have gone to the 500 yen ones, because probably what those were probably outdoor ones with a long history, that were really a lot of nature and stuff like that. The expensive one was like in a fancy hotel, but it was like indoor shit. But still, it was still good for me. I was very satisfied with what happened. So this is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe, so 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe. So on a weekday, on a Wednesday, so like no one's there, and I get to the hotel, and I'm just like, yeah, I just went to hot spring, and so I paid, and they're like, okay, go ahead. And it was all like fruit themed hot springs. So you had the green apple one, you had the orange one, you had the grape one, and again, just similar to the bullshit they were talking about in that dumbass video. Like, yeah, it looked like fucking grape juice, but I wasn't gonna drink it because I'm not an idiot. It's just flavor. It's just like aroma crystals and fucking color mixed in with the hot spring water. That's it. I mean, it was really nice. Like, the aroma was nice, and I'm like a little kid. It was just me all by myself, so I'm in like a little kid in the candy store, jumping from one pool to the other pool, to the outside pool, to the regular pool, to the it was fucking awesome. I spent like maybe 2 hours in there. They had a fucking a dry sauna, they had a wet sauna, they had an outdoor pool, they had an indoor pool, they had a little Japanese. And so I'm just in there just having a blast, taking a bath, taking showers, like we run all around the place, butt naked. Yeah, of course, butt naked. And then, like, about when it started getting dark, I headed back into the city. And that was my first time experiencing driving on the highway. You've heard me talk about that as well, like the roller coaster ride that is the highway system here at nighttime, listening to I think I was listening to like the Tron Legacy soundtrack or some shit like that. Like, some real like techno shit, that was just like, I don't know, like, I mean, what I'm saying, I'm in a fucking computer game or something like that, but it was fucking cool. It was cool vibes. I was like, damn, I'm in Japan. This is some real Japanese ass shit. But the point of this is the water, that is not real grape juice. Japanese people are not fucking swimming in wine, god damn it, like, you fucking bastards. Like, but this is, so you have to, you have to really be careful, disseminate the information that you hear, read, and research about Japan. Right now, the next one is not so offensive for me, but it's what it's like to be a 16-year-old in Tokyo today. And I think, I forgot, maybe this is like Vice or something like that. But the reason why for me this is misleading is because the people that they chose, they didn't really choose the average Japanese 16-year-old, average Japanese teenager or Tokyo teenager at all, right? Even if you watch, on the surface, the teenage girls that they choose in the beginning of that, it's a group of girls talking about some shit, bubble tea and some shit like that. Those are idols. It's very clear. Those are not just like regular high school girls talking. That's like an idol group dressed in high school girls' uniforms. So you're not getting the general consensus of what an average teenager gets. You're getting the sexy Tokyo, cool, funky Harajuku style fucking teenager who does skateboarding and boxes K1 and has her own clothing line and fucking purple hair. Like, the Western image of what Tokyo life is like. And, so it's more interesting, but it is the outliers, here. And it's not really how it will give you a very misguided view of how mundane everyday life is here. It's very mundane. But that's where the peace comes in, right? Because for me at least, like, the mundane nature of Japan is so completely different than what Western culture and society is. You're in the middle, it's kind of like, it becomes very surreal. Life here is very surreal because, you're in the middle of something that's very minimalist, but in the backdrop of something that's so funky and so foreign to what you're accustomed to, that it becomes a surreal experience, whatever you're doing. You get accustomed to that, but I still appreciate it, all the fucking time, but, it's more of a Western thing to kind of be flashy and put shit in your face. Like, hey, I got my own hairline, and hey, I'm wearing all this crazy shit. Like, and I was watching that video hoping that they would at least have a couple of what I would call a couple of teens that somewhat represented the vast majority of teenagers I encounter in my everyday life in Tokyo, but I didn't, which was a disappointment to me, and why I also label that as quite misleading, because in my mind, I'm pretty sure in your mind, from like anime, from movies, from, whatever the fuck you're consuming, content you're consuming related to Japan, probably the kids in that video might match your image of what you think about when you think of Tokyo, but that's not what you're going to get at all. Not at all, right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, a few things that I didn't really watch but look interesting. I wanted to watch it before I came here, before I started recording, but I didn't, is what it's like to work in Japan. I watched a little bit of it. I might have watched some of this before. There's a lot of background historical information about what the everyday business culture was like in Japan in the past. I might have watched it before, but it doesn't really, I remember seeing some of the people interviewed before. I think Nobita is in this. Not Nobita, the other guy, Yuta, maybe. I always forget the other guy's name, but he's in it as well. Some of the interviews I think are going to be good, informative for you, give you some context about the history, the general culture of Japan. A lot of complaining about it as well, but give that a watch if you have the chance. Another doc is about Hikikomori, which shut-ins I talked about in the previous episode. It's something I'm not going to get into. I didn't watch the documentary, but if you want to know about them and what their lives are like, it's there for you. Definitely give that a watch too. Again, I don't really have too much to contribute to. Oh no, maybe I did watch some of this Hikikomori documentary. Yeah, I did. I'm remembering it now. I watched like about maybe half of it. And some of the things that might strike you are, again, how Japanese people kind of tend to not ignore a problem, but leave a problem as it is, and if you listen to the background, how these kids became hikikomori, that's kind of what really happened in a lot of the cases. The parents just kind of left it be. Oh yeah, that's why, because this is kind of a continuation from a few episodes ago of the article Rod sent. What is that, the 80-50 problem? Yeah, so 50-80 problem, 80-50 I believe. So you can kind of see some of the origins of that. The kids really talk about some with domestic violence problems, but generally, when it gets to a certain point, a breaking point, the family just kind of leaves the kid as is to their own devices. And, they've got 3 square meals a day, they got money, whatever they need, and they're just allowed to just be. Me personally, I'm like, that shit ain't gonna happen at all with my son. Like, yeah, okay. Like, I'm just gonna let you play. I want to play PlayStation all day. I want to eat snacks and surf the internet all day. Why the fuck I gotta work so your ass can do that? Like, that's not something that Western people, especially black people, gonna allow to happen. But just in the West, like I've never heard of a hikikomori, like a shut-in teen or whatever in their 20s in America. I don't know. Let me know if you have. Like, I just don't know. And I've never heard of that shit, so it's a cultural thing. So check that out. All right, another fun video is it's kind of monotonous, but it gives you some cultural context. It's 50 dropped wallets, I believe is the name of it. A guy pretty much walking around Tokyo dropped his wallet 50 times and saw what happened. You know, it was a social experiment, but you know, I'm kind of over those social experiment videos, but I'm sure you are too. But this is like a real social experiment, and you can kind of tell the reaction of real Japanese people. And yeah, it lets you know like why I fucking live in this country. Spoiler, people gave the wallet back. Okay. All right, so that's that. I got one more thing. Again, sorry, my apologies. I thought this was gonna be like an epic, super long podcast, but just even when I started recording, I really wasn't like, I told you, juices weren't flowing. So I'm not gonna push the issue. I'm not gonna force anything. I'm just gonna, you know, wrap everything up pretty quickly tonight and earlier than I thought I would, and then, you know, try and do some editing and stuff tomorrow. Maybe get some more clips. So by the way, if you hear this, this is probably gonna come out first or whatever around the same time. Like I said, I want to do just a dump of a lot of different clips from the previous couple of episodes on YouTube. I might schedule them, so you know, just look for the, if you watch on YouTube, just look for the titles, and please don't just click and click away. That just fucks up my analytics completely, you know. But the full episodes are going to be labeled as episodes, and clips are just going to probably have whatever the title of the section is. So just respond appropriately for people watching on YouTube. And the last joint is it's a Nobita thing, and he he hit it on the head again, talking about foreigners that he doesn't like, right? And I'm just gonna blast through this really quickly. It's so true for me too. His number 3 was foreigners who don't like Japanese culture, or foreign people who don't like Japanese culture. You'll be surprised the amount of foreign people living and staying in Japan that don't like Japanese culture. I mean, I would say like it's a range, you know, but the main thing would be people who aren't flexible and open-minded. I would amend that to be people who aren't open-minded to Japanese culture. Like I remember I had this coworker, oh my gosh, like she tripped me out because she complained about Japan. She was working in Japan, complained about Japan every day, complained about Japanese culture every day. She was American, like from the Midwest. I'm not downing those areas, but I'm just giving you, you know, some context about her, you know. And you know, all she did was eat McDonald's every day, complain about Japanese food, Japanese people, Japanese culture, talk about how thin she used to be. I'm not fat shaming her at all, but I'm just saying, like, you know, if you're telling me about how you were, you know, sorry to say this, like a sexy cheerleader and all the guys wanted you in college, and like you're in Japan eating McDonald's every day, complaining about Japanese culture, it's like, why are you here? You know, it's kind of what everyone was just like, yo, why are you here? Why are you even here? Why don't you just go back to America? Like, this is like when I first came to Japan. And yeah, like that was my number one thing. So just be open-minded. Like, you don't even have to accept everything, but just be open-minded to it and just understand it's a different culture, a different place, and just try some shit and don't fucking complain about everything. Number 2 is can't speak Japanese. He goes into it very well. Again, yeah, not speaking Japanese is fine, but making no attempt to pick up the language. Just I've met some people like that who just use their English as a weapon, use their inability to speak Japanese as a weapon, you know, and just try to exert their will over Japanese people to prove to them that they need to speak English. That's just some condescending shit, and you're just being an asshole. So me too, I don't like that as well. Like, dude, just fucking pick up a book. It's not that complicated, right? And the number 1 is people who just want to fuck Japanese girls. He talks about it in a very funny context, and yeah, I agree. I mean, how do I say this? I mean, wanting to fuck Japanese girls is not a bad thing, you know, but just don't make that your whole purpose for coming to Japan. Like, you know, Did I tell this story? I can't remember if I told this story in the previous. Again, I was drinking cognac in the previous episode, but like, it reminds me of like, okay, maybe I haven't told. Okay, another story. So let me drink last little bit of cognac on this episode. So hold on, let me again, one-handed. Boop, pop this open. Hold on. Gotta keep the yak safe. Gotta protect the yak. Okay, perfect pour. All right. Okay, shit. All right, let me just put that right there. All right, and put this cap on. Cap on. Okay, before I tell this story, I can't remember if I told this crazy Shibuya tale. It's fucking weird. But like, so one time I'm in Shibuya. Again, if I told this, my bad, I'll tell it again. I'm in Shibuya, walking around doing something in my mid to late 20s. And maybe Friday night or something like that. Not too late though. And I forgot how this dude, like a big dude, black dude, big dude, pretty big, I'm 6'2", he was maybe like 6'5", maybe like 250 pounds, pretty big. But he was older than me. At that time, he was probably like mid to late 30s. Yeah, mid to late 30s from what I would guess. And, he was just like, "What's up, brother?" I just remember he's like, "What's up, brother?" I was like, "Yo," sometimes, you get, "Yo, what's going on, man?" He's like, "Oh, you out here looking too, huh?" And he just ran over to me and just immediately started talking to me. I think I was on some chill shit too. Like I forgot what I was doing out there, but I was just hanging by myself. I wasn't really like looking to get into. I'm not talking about like sexual contents. I was basically married at this time, so I was just looking to like chill, maybe have a drink or two, like do something or whatever. I forgot why, but he was like really manic and like looking around, like oh, like, yeah, what you getting into? You see, like he's like a little crackhead, like just like fiending. And he was like, "Look at all this. Oh, you see that? Ooh, I see that right there. Ooh, I see that right there. Like he's just hungry at the barbecue, like at the buffet. And he's like, "Ooh, I can't get enough of these." And he's just talking to me, like half talking to me, half talking to himself, like about all these young Japanese. They just keep staying the same age. I can't get enough of them. I gotta have it. Ooh, he's like, and he's just telling me about at this point, like I kind of know this dude's a weirdo. It's one thing for me. Hey, you love women, that's cool. I love women, that's cool. But this guy clearly had a problem, and he was not the type of person I wanted to really be associated with. And especially because I would kind of be lumped in the category as this dude. So, but it was clear like he was so worked up and so happy that he could talk to another young black guy, that in Shibuya, while surrounded by a bunch of like young women, that it was clear like he was worked up. He was on 10. I was on like 3, to be in Shibuya, and he is just like on 10. And I was just like, there's no way without like making a scene I can get away from this guy. I just gotta like let the conversation run its course. I'm not going anywhere, so I can't, like my face is really honest. So like if I'm like, yeah, I gotta go, like I don't know what this crazy motherfucker's gonna do, right? So So I just like let him go off, right? And I forgot we talk in like Sentagai, which is like the main intersection Shibuya, for I think like 5-10 minutes. And then I think I was after like 5 or 10 minutes of him just be like, ooh, these women, you know, I just gotta fuck them. Ooh, I can't stop it. I come here, you know, I'm in my car. I'm driving here. I drive like about an hour here just to pick them up, scoop them up, fuck them up, you know, woo. Yeah, and this is how this guy's talking to me, like really loud, really like animated. And I'm just like, eventually I'm like, yeah, I'm just going that way. You know, he's like, okay, cool. Okay, it's cool. I'll walk with you. And so he just starts walking with me and talking to me about, basically he just, you know, wants to brag about being able to drive to Shibuya, pick up girls and fuck them. That was like his whole spiel. That was the whole thing. And I mean, great. I know a lot of guys who do that, you know, or at least before Corona, I knew a lot of guys who did that. But this guy was, you know, he was like, check this out. I mean, he's just like, check this out. Ooh. And he like, he like pulls up a video on his phone. And before I realize what he's showing me, it's like him in his car, clearly in his car, like fucking a chick. Like he's got, so he's got his phone set up. Like, you know, he's in the back seat. He's got his phone set up and he's like, she's on riding him, you know. Sorry, this is kind of graphic, but this is kind of, I'm in public, like, you know, and I mean, he's so excited. He like jams his phone in my face and he's like, yeah, you know, full on, like, look at that shit, you know. And so he's like all like pumped up, like he had like, you know, 4 Locos, he had like 8 Red Bulls or something. And excuse me, and he's like, you know, yeah, look at that shit, like, you see that? And in the, it's weird because in the video he's doing the same thing. He's like, you know, got this chick's ass, you know, on his dick, and he's like, in the camera, like, woo, yeah, yeah. Like, I'm just like, it was like a small clip. Like, thank goodness this was before, you know, iPhone, so I didn't watch this dude's whole porno, but it was just like a good 10-15 second clip of this guy yelling into the camera with a Japanese girl on his dick, like, you know, like, I'm just like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like, what the fuck you want me to say? Like, I met you like 10 minutes ago, you know, like, I'm not trying to see you, like, you know, your porno, like, but it, you know, this was before, I think this was clearly must have been before the earthquake. So again, there were a lot more Japanese people in Tokyo at the time. And again, this was kind of just like the end of the peak where foreign people were really, really trendy. You know, I guess picking up Japanese girls was a lot easier back then, you know, randomly, because I mean, he was so pumped and so excited to just be picking up girls and fucking them in Shibuya. And I'm just like, I don't know, now I think about it, he must have been married or something like that. Maybe, you know, had a family, he just wanted to escape or something. I don't know what this dude's deal was, or he was just like a weirdo. I don't know, but you know, I 100% agree that people like that who are just in Japan to just try and get some tail, man, just stay in your home country. You know, it's kind of the same thing, you know. Apple pie, lemon pie, it's all pie. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's not gonna magically turn into the fucking mashed potatoes, okay? Like, it's all pie, okay? Okay, sorry, ladies. Well, this is my 90% dudes. This is guy talk, but you know what I mean. But definitely check out the list. Nobita, he does his list much more justice than I do, but yeah, it's weird shit, man. Whew, I kind of forgot about that story. Okay. Okay, all right, you guys. So let's call that a night again. Yeah. Oh shit! It almost made it to an hour. Okay, so turned into a pretty much better podcast than I thought it would be. Hopefully, fun, informative. Look out for those clips. No promises, but just let you know. And definitely check out the links. So, all right, y'all. Let me get the fuck out of here. Holla at you next time. Peace.